I'm so excited by the energy I feel from you authors, right? You writers, illustrators. Make sure that you've given the book back to whomever, right? You got it from. And maybe you might even ask them during read to self time, can I keep reading your book? Because I see some of you are very interested in each other's stories. I'm curious, if you had to circle either an emotion, one of the emoticons that we see, maybe it's a feeling you get from the book, from the characters, or an IB principle, what would you circle? So give it a try right now.
I had a circle.
So circle it and hold it up. Okay, circle it and hold it up. What are you thinking as far as what is going on in the story that you read? So I'm getting some happy, some surprise.
Okay, so pretty much it's me.
So I saw a lot of you go to the emoticon, right? The emotions here. And many said that it was kind of a feeling of happiness, right? A feeling of happiness. I'm curious. Oh, wait. Thank you.
Our circle was mad and happy.
I'm curious as we get to the end, will we see more people identifying with some of these things? Will you say, well, at the end, I really got the central idea that this book was really about being a thinker, right? Maybe you have someone who's solving a problem in your story, and the character is going to be a thinker. Maybe by the end of your story, you might say, well, by the end, you should learn that we should be more caring to others because bullying or keeping people out isn't the way to treat others. So that's something to keep thinking about. How will your story end? By the end, will we be able to go here and using our objective and using our Fab 5, if I read your story, would I be able to go through these things? And so that's where you see my chart here and what I want us to think about. So you'll notice that I have the chart title, When I Think I'm Done with My Writing. So some of you are getting to the point where you think you might be done. And so this is what I want you to use to check yourself to say, have I kind of hit all the things that I should be thinking about? So when we think we're done, okay, the first thing I want you to think about is what?
Illustrations.
The illustration, right? So you're going to look in your story and look at your illustrations, and you're going to say, do I have illustrations on the cover, the end pages, and the back? Remember that authors will often have an illustration on the front, sometimes on the back, and then there's that end page. Some authors choose not to do anything with it. So Patricia Polacco, she ends her story here, and then she just has a page that's full of color. The back side, someone noticed, she extends her illustration. Really, this is an entire illustration that goes from the front to the back. Other authors, you'll notice, will put something on the back about their book or about themselves. So how will you use those pages for your illustrations? Also, we're looking for, just like we do in writing, key details. Do I get some feeling from your story about the characters? Maybe you're using some of those emotion words about your characters. Are you really describing in your pictures as well those key details? When you think you're done, we're also going to look at your words, right? Yesterday you talked about, well, good writers use good words. They're interesting. So that's what we want to see from you. Are your words, I'm going to put interesting. And we're thinking about things like word choice. And we're thinking about things like personal voice. Does it sound like you? Does it have some personality? We're also looking at some of your spelling. And not spelling correctly, but spelling those words that are common words, right? Words like there. Words like was. Those words that we should know, or if we don't know, we can look in a book and check, or check with someone else. Certainly not every word should be spelled right, but just those common words that we see throughout our day. And then lastly, when I think I'm done, could I grab a Fab 5? And could I fill out a Fab 5 on my own story? That's the real checker, right? Who or what is the story about? What do they want or need or try to get? Is something getting in the way? Is there some surprise? Is that solved? And then what can we learn at the end? And that's that big heart piece. So we're looking for, does it have a good, I'm going to put beginning, middle, and end, but more importantly to me, I'm looking for that lesson. Because if someone can, by the end of their story, say, this is the lesson you should learn from this story, this is the central message, ooh, boy, do they have a story, right? Anyone can put some characters in, but if by the end of your story, I can say, oh, my goodness, I feel something, that's a heart story. I won't read it now, but in our next rotation I will. This is a story that I came across yesterday, actually, when I was looking for more books by Patricia Polacco, Mr. Lincoln's Way. And I shared a piece of it yesterday, but I read the whole thing afterward, and oh my gosh, is this a good story.
You read the whole book?
It almost made me cry. I was standing in the library at Alexander, because this is where I borrowed it from, and I'm reading the story, and I start to tear up, because the lesson learned in it was so impactful, was so engaging, that it really made me connect to what the characters were feeling. So maybe your story's not going to be like that, but we should feel something. We should laugh. We should maybe get a teary-eyed. We should learn something. Yeah, we should giggle. We should get something from it. So by the end of your story, that's your goal, right? By the end of the story, can we take the Fab Five and can we see all those important parts? But more importantly, can we go to the end of your story and say, ooh, I see a lesson there, or I really learned something from them or their information. They really taught me a lot about zebras or dogs or cats, okay? So as you're working on your story and you think you're done, please use this as your checker, because remember that writers stay in a comfy spot, right? Will you say that with me? Writers stay in a comfy spot. So that means when you find your spot, you're going to stay
There.
in that spot, right? And so, say it with me. Writers
Stay in a comfy spot.
They write and illustrate most of the time. Now notice I said most of the time because writers need to think, right? You're not robots, you're not going to be writing the whole time, but most of the time we should see you writing. And try their best to be principled. Say that with me.
Try their best to be principled.
Principled means you're staying on task, you're being, right, focused, and you know what your job is. Because we hope that perhaps by tomorrow at the end of the day, you might have at least half or the whole part of your book done. So in this rotation, you have a choice. We would either see you writing, working on your writing, or we're going to see you reading. If we see you reading, we would see you with your switchboard, and we'll see you looking for what is this book about? What is that central message I'm getting? Is this a book about being a thinker, or am I getting a feeling? So if you're working on writing, we'll see you work on your book. If we're seeing you read to self, we'll see you with this next to you, and you'll be looking for what are some of the things I see in my book that are here. If you're going to work on writing, would you please stand up? If you're choosing to work on write, would you stand up, please? Work on writing. And will you show us that comfy spot you're going to go to right now? And if you're going to read this out right now, would you stand up?